بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على خاتم الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. These are some exercises about section 2.1. Write the equation in general form. Well, if you remember, this is of course a quadratic equation because z times z will be z square. So the general form of the quadratic equation is given by this, where a is not 0. Of course, if the variable is z, it would be az square plus bz plus c. So the right-hand side has to be 0. So we have to expand the left-hand side. Z times z will be z square. And -1 times z is negative z. And -3 times z is negative 3z. If we add these two, we get negative 4z. So we'll have negative 4z. And -1 times negative 3 is positive 3 equals 1, or I can bring 1 to the other side with a different sign. So z square minus 4z, 3 minus 1 is 2. That's the equation written in general form. Solve each equation by factoring. Well, we can factor the left-hand side using the formula, the difference of two squares, u minus v square equals u minus v times u plus v. So this is u square and this is v square. So we take the square root of 9, which is 3, minus the square root of 4, which is 2, and square root of x squared is x. This would be the first term, u minus v. And then we write it again with a different sign. Okay, so this is the factored form of the left-hand side. And now we use the zero product property. So either 3 minus 2x is 0 or 3 plus 2x is 0. And now we solve these two equations. So negative 2x would be negative 3, or x would be negative 3 over negative 2, or just 3 over 2. And here 2x would be negative 3, or x is negative 3 over 2. So these are the two solutions. To solve this by factoring, we have to take x squared to the other side. Well, I don't like the coefficient of x squared to be negative, so I will multiply this equation by -1. So I have x squared minus x equals to 0. Of course, this doesn't change the solutions of the equation. Now I can factor. I take a common factor of these two terms. X is the common factor. The smallest power is always the common factor. So either x is 0 or x minus 1 is 0, which means x is 1. So when you take the common factor x, you divide x squared divided by x. This will x squared divided by x. You subtract the powers, 2 minus 1, it would be x. This is the first term. And negative x divided by x, x over x is 1. They cancel and you get a negative 1. So by this, you will have this. 3 terms, trinomial. The right-hand side is 0. So immediately I try to factor with parentheses. 4t squared, well, I can write it 2t times 2t. I also can write it 4t times t. Okay, it's up to you. Plus 1, I can write it -1 times -1, or plus 1 times plus 1. Now let me check the term, the midterm. -2t, this is the outer. This is the inner terms, sorry. And the outer terms will give you -2t. If you add, you have -4t, and that's exactly the midterm. So that's the answer. That's the factored form. So either 2t minus 1 is 0 or 2t minus 1 is 0. It is the same. Actually, this can be factored to 2t minus 1 all to the power 2 equals to 0. And then 2t minus 1 would be 0, and 2t is 1, and t is half, and that's the only solution of this equation. If you know this one, u minus v squared equals to u squared minus 2uv plus v squared. So whenever you have three terms like this, then you can write it as a complete square like this, a perfect square like this. So here, something square, it has a root. So 4t squared, it has a root, 2t. And the last one is also squared, it has a root which is 1. And then in the middle, you take negative 2uv. So negative 2 times 2t times 1. That's negative 4t. So this proves that these three terms are written in this form. Okay? Square root of the first one times the square root of the second one times 2 will give you 4t. So you can write it u minus v squared. So u is the square root of this 2t minus the square root of this all to the power 2. So in fact, these three terms can be written like this. If you do the same here, concentrate, this term has a square root which is 7z, and this term has a square root which is 1. If you multiply 1 times 7z times 2, you get 14z. So this is actually a perfect square. So when this is a plus, so we write plus. Because if you have a plus sign here, it would come here. Okay. So in fact, these three terms can be written like this. And now, using the square root property, 7z minus 1 equals plus or minus 0, but plus or minus 0 is just 0. So 7z will be equal to 1, and z would be equal to 1 over 7, and that's the solution of this equation. To solve this by factoring, I have to take everything to the left-hand side, and I will write 11x here to be in the general form. And now I try to factor. Okay. Well, 5x squared, either 5x times x. That's the only possibility. But 6, I have 2 times 3. I have 1 plus 6. You will learn how to do it quickly. But let me give you an example. If you write it plus minus, this is minus. If you write it minus 2 and minus 3, then minus 2 times minus 3 is plus 6. So that's okay. You factored plus 6 to two numbers, negative 2 times negative 3. But the problem with this negative 2x, that's the inner, and negative 15x, that's the outer. So negative 17x should be in the middle, but we do not have negative 17. We have negative 11. So this will not work. Okay. But if you think a little, if you write 5x here and x here, and if you think to 6, if you write 6 here and 1 here, then of course negative 6 times negative 1 is 6, but now we have negative 6x, the inner, and negative 5x is the outer, and the sum is negative 11, which is this one. So this is the correct form. So either 5x minus 6 is 0, hence x is 6 over 5, or x minus 1 is 0, hence x is 1, and these are the two solutions of this equation. Solve this by factoring. Okay, 7x squared minus x, and I take 26 to the other side. Now let us try to factor this one. Well, 7x squared, only one possibility, 7x times x. But 26, 1 times 26 will not work. 2 times 13 will work. Why? Because if I put 13 here and 2 here, their product should be negative 26. So I will make this negative because the outer would be negative 14 and the inner would be plus 13. So the inner would be plus 13 and the outer is negative 14 and the sum is negative x. So while you are trying to factor negative 26, you are doing this in your mind, the outer plus the inner, to see whether it gives you negative x or not. So either 7x is negative 13 or x is 2 This means that x is negative 13 over 7. So there are two solutions of this equation. Solve each equation using the quadratic formula. Give real answers exactly and round it to two decimal places. So he's asking only about real answers. If you remember, the quadratic formula says that for ax squared plus bx minus c plus c equals to 0, if the equation in the general form, then the solutions would be negative b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac, or the discriminant over 2a. So to solve this equation using quadratic formula, I have to take everything to the left-hand side as usual. So x squared minus 4x minus 4 would be 0. So a is 1, b is negative 4, c is negative 4. Let us do it using the quadratic formula. X would be negative b, which is 4 plus or minus square root of b squared is 16 minus 4 times 1 times negative 4. So I'll just write it 4 times negative 4 over 2 times a is 1, so that's 2. So it's 4 plus or minus square root of. Now negative 4 times negative 4 is positive 16. 16 plus 16 is 32 over 2. Now 32, square root of 32, I can write it 2 times 16. And square root of 16 is 4. So I can write it 4 times square root of 2 over 2. So square root of 32, I wrote it as square root of 16 times 2. And then it's square root of 16 times square root of 2, which is 4 square root of 2. That's what happened here. So I can take 4 now as a common factor. So I have, or just let me take 2 as a common factor because I have 2 in the denominator, although I can take 4 as a common factor. If I take 2 as a common factor, I'll have 2 plus or minus 2 square root of 2 over 2. Now I can cancel 2 with 2, and the two answers would be 2 plus or minus 2 square root of 2. These are the exact answer. So this is the answer of part A. Well, the answer of part B would be one of the solutions would be, pause, I use the calculator. Just a minute, I'll use the calculator to find the exact answers. The calculator was just away. So 2 plus 2 square root of 2. The answer, it's 4.8. Okay. Did he ask about any two decimal places? Okay, if he asked about two decimal places, so the answer would be 4.83 because after 2 I have 8. So 4.83. This is the first answer. And the second answer, 2 minus 2 square root of 2, and it is negative 0.828 or negative 0.83. So this is the answer. Another question, we need to solve it using the quadratic formula. Well, it is not in the general form, so let me start by negative x squared, negative 2x plus 7 equals 0. So here I wrote it using in the general form. Now I can multiply the equation by negative 1 to have a equals to 1, but it's okay. I will work with this. A would be negative 1 here. B is negative 2. Well, this is not clear. Okay. Negative 1, negative 2, and C is 7. All right. So use the quadratic formula. Negative B, which is 2 plus or minus square root of B square. B square is 4 because negative 2 to the power 2 is 4 minus 4 times A, which is negative 1, times C, which is 7, over 2 times negative 1, which is negative 2. So it's 2 plus or minus square root of. Now, Minus 4 times minus 1 is 4 times 7 is 28. So actually it is 4 plus 28, okay, over negative 2. So this would be 2 plus or minus. This is 32. So again, I can write it 16 times 2. So it's 4 square root of 2 over negative 2. I can take again 2 as a common factor. And I can divide 2 by 2. But there is a minus here. So the final answer would be negative 1. Okay, minus plus, it doesn't matter. Okay, you can write it minus or plus 2 square root of 2. So it was 1 plus or minus 2 square root of 2 multiplied by negative 1. I wrote it negative 1 plus minus 2 square root of 2. You can write it minus or plus. It doesn't matter because these are two solutions. So these are the exact. This is part A, and part B would be negative 1 plus 2 square root of 2. And by calculator, this is equal to 1.828 or 1.83 to 2 decimal places, and minus negative 1 minus 2 square root of 2. This is negative 3.828 or 3. These are the two solutions. Another equation. Well, when I take 3x squared to the other side, I have negative 3x squared plus 6x minus 2 equals to 0. So A is negative 3, B is 6, C is negative 2. So X is negative B, negative 6 plus or minus square root of 36 minus 4 times A times C over 2 times A. So 2 times negative 3, negative 6. Don't think of canceling these two. You can't because there is a plus or minus here. So what to do? You have to do it like this. 36. Now, minus times minus times minus would be minus. 4 times 3, 12 times 2, 24. So 36 minus 24 is 12, isn't it? Yeah, I think it's 12, but I'll make sure 12. So negative 6 plus or minus square root of 12 over negative 6. Still, I can't cancel. But what I can do, 12 is 3 times 4. Okay, 12 is 3 times 4. So I will write square root of 12 as square root of 4 times square root of 3. But square root of 4 is 2. So I can write this negative 6 plus or minus 2 square root of 3 over negative 6. And I can take 2 as a common factor. So I will have uh, negative 3 plus or minus a square root of 3 over negative 6. And you can cancel 2 with negative 6. And the final answer would be like this. You can leave it like this, or you can write it negative 3 over negative 3, 1 plus or minus square root of 3 over negative 3. This is okay, and this is okay. These are the two solutions. Now we can find an approximation for them using the calculator to two decimal places. So the answer is 0.422. So I'll just take zero point 0.4. This is part A and this is part B. And the other solution, if I replace plus square root of 3 by minus, and the answer would be 1.577. So it would be 1.58. So these are the two answers. Find the exact real solutions. Real, he's asking about real solutions to each equation if they exist. Well, here I use the square root property. We know that if y square equals to c, then y is plus or minus square root of c. That's the square root property. So y is plus or minus square root of 7. And these are the two solutions. Here, to use this property, I have to divide by 3. So x squared would be 75 divided by 3, that's 25. And now x would be plus or minus square root of 25 which is 5. So these are the two solutions. Even I can use the square root property here. X plus 1 would be equal to plus or minus square root of 2, and then x would be negative 1 plus or minus square root of 2, and these would be the two solutions. These are the exacts. Okay, if you want to approximate, you can use the calculator. All right, use any method to find the exact real solutions. Again, we are always ask about real solutions if they exist. Well, here I need to multiply by the LCD. What is the LCD? Look to the two numbers here, 8 and 2. 8 divides 2. 8 over 2 would be 4. So the LCD is just 8. So multiply by 8 all the terms. 8 times W square over 8 minus 8 times W over 2 minus 8 times 4 would be 8 times 0. All right. So 8 over 8. So I'll have W square. 8 over 2 is 4. So I'll have 4W. 8 times 4 is 32. And 8 times 0 is just 0. And now I have this equation, and I can try to factor this equation. 4 times 8 is 32. So it can be factored easily. W times W. And we search for two numbers. Their product is negative 32 and their sum is negative 4. So that's negative 8 and positive 4. 4 times negative 8 is negative 32, and negative 8 plus 4 will give you negative 4. So the answer is either W is 8 or W is negative 4. So these are the two solutions of this equation. The LCD here is what? Is, yes, 6, because 6 divides 2. So we multiply everything by 6. So 6 times y square over 2 minus 6 times 11 over 6y plus 6 times 1 equals 6 times 0. But 6 over 2 is 3, so we have 3y squared. 6 over 6 is 1, so we have 11y. 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 0 is 0. And can I try to factor this trinomial? If I write it 3y times y, 6, if I write it 3 here and 2 here, minus minus, negative 3 times minus 2 would be positive 6. Negative 2y plus negative 9y would be negative 11y. So it is the factored form, and the first solution would be 2 over 3, and the second solution would be y equals to 3. Well, to solve this equation, I need to expand the left-hand side. X times 1 is x minus x squared minus 3 and plus 3x and minus 1 when you bring this to the other side. And now I have the right-hand side 0. And the equation in the general form is negative x squared, x plus 3x is plus 4x minus 3 equals to 0. Well, if I'm going to try factoring, I like the coefficient of x squared to be positive. So I will multiply by a negative sign, and this does not change the solutions of the equation. Now I can factor this easily because x times x, and I need two numbers. Their product is positive 3, their sum is negative 4, and that's negative 1 and negative 3. So either x is 1 or x is 3. Somebody may says, okay, I think there is something wrong here. Yeah, there is something wrong because you know 1 minus 1 is 0. How come? So these two solutions are not correct. So there is a mistake. What is the mistake? Did you find it? Find it before me? I found it anyway because negative 3 minus 1 is negative 4. So it is negative x squared, positive 4x, negative 4. So this would be positive 4. And now, if you look, this is this has a square root x, and this has a square root 2. And if you multiply 2 times x times 2, you get 4x. So actually, this is the factored form of this of the left hand side. And there is only one answer in this case, which is 2. So 1 minus 2 would be negative 1. 2 minus 3 would be negative 1. Negative 1 times negative 1 is 1. So that's the correct answer. Well, to solve this equation, I'll take everything to the left-hand side. Then I'll try to factor. Well, can we factor? I don't see here a quick way to factor. So I have a method. Let me find b squared minus 4ac. What is b squared minus 4ac? That's the discriminant. If the discriminant is an integer uh, uh, or a fraction, then you will be able to factor this. But if it is irrational number, it's the rational. If it is irrational, then there will be no solution. What is a here? A is 3, B is 6, C is 2. So B squared would be 36 minus 4 times 3 times 2. So what is 36 minus 24? It's 8. Well, square root of 8 is not a rational number. If you use the calculator, it will give you 2 point something something. Okay, 2, I'm not sure. uh, yes, 2.8284 and so on. So this is not a rational number. So by this, I know that this trinomial cannot be factored. So what to do? I have to use the quadratic formula. So quadratic formula says negative b is 6, so negative 6 plus or minus square root of b squared, this one, the discriminant, I already have it. It is 8, okay, over 2 times a, which is 6. Again, you cannot divide, please. So negative 6 plus or minus, you cannot cancel. Square root of 8 is 2 square root of 2 over 6. I can take 2 as a common factor, or let me do something else. Let me write this negative 6 over 6 plus or minus 2 square root of 2 over 6, and negative 6 over 6 is negative 1, and 2 over 6 is just 3 in the denominator. So you can write the answers like this. So you do not have to take a common factor if you do not like taking common factors. Multiply both sides of the equation by the LCD and solve the resulting quadratic equation. So what is the LCD here? We have x plus 1 and we have x minus 2. So this will be the LCD. So I have to multiply each term by the LCD. All right. I hope you understand this by now. Well, x minus 2 cancels with x minus 2. And I'll have x times x plus 1. Here times 1. So I just write it x plus 1 times x minus 2. And here x plus 1 cancels with x plus 1. And I'll have 3 times x minus 2. Good. Now expand. X squared plus x minus. X times x, x squared. The inner is x, the outer is negative 2x. Negative 2x plus x is minus x. Negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. And do not forget the minus sign outside. 3x minus 6. Now, I have x squared plus x and minus x squared. Minus times minus plus x. Minus times minus 2 plus 2. And I'll take 3x. No, I will not take. I leave them in the left hand side. And why is that? Because I noticed that there is x squared and negative x squared. They will be cancelled. So x plus x is 2x plus 2 equals 3x minus 6. So if I take 3x to the other side, 2x minus 3x would be negative x, and negative 6 minus 2 is negative 8, and then the answer is x equals to 8. And you can check the answer easily. 8 over x minus 2, 8 minus 2 is 6, minus 1 should be equal to 3 over 8 plus 1, which is 9. So this is 1 over 3, and this is 4 over 3, minus 3 over 3 is 1 over 3. So that's actually correct, and that's the answer. Well, the LCD here is we have x minus 1 only in the denominator. So if we multiply everything by x minus 1, all the terms should be multiplied by x minus 1, all the terms, because doing this, we are not changing the equation. Otherwise, you change the equation. So x minus 1 cancels with x minus 1, and I have x. Here, let me expand. 2x times x is 2x squared, and 2x minus 1 is negative 2x. And these two canceled, and I have plus 1. All right. So I'll have 2x squared in this side. Negative 2x minus x is minus 3x plus 1. I am here, I am in this side, okay? Then equals to 0 here, or I will write it equals to 0 here. Now, can I factor these three terms? Well, I think I can. You need to practice to get used to factoring. I think if I just write negative 1 and negative 1, I'll have negative x, negative 2x, that's negative 3x, negative 1 times negative 1 is 1. So I have two solutions. Either x is half or x is 1. But look to the equation. I have x minus 1 in the denominator. So x minus 1, the x equals 1. This is rejected because it will make the denominator 0. So I cannot accept this answer. And the only answer of this equation would be half. So pay attention to this point. What is the LCD here? Well, I have z plus 4 and I have z minus 2. So I have to multiply everything by z plus 4 times z minus 2. Okay, minus again z plus 4 times z minus 2 times 3 over z minus 2 equals 4 times z plus 4 times z minus 2. Well, z plus 4 cancels with z plus 4, and I have 5z minus 2 times 5 minus 10. And here z minus 2 cancels z minus 2, and I have 3 times z plus 4. Uh, okay, and I'll have here 4 times. Let me expand this. Z times z is z squared. 4z minus 2z is 2z, negative 8. Okay, so I'll have 5z minus 10 minus 3z minus 3 times 4, negative 12. And I have here 4z squared plus 4 times 2, 8z minus 32. So let me take negative everything to the others, to the left hand side, because I have z squared. So negative 4z. Now you have 5z minus 3z. I can write this plus 2z. Negative 10 minus 12, I can write it negative 22. And now 8z, when I take it to the other side, negative 8z. And negative 32 would be positive 32. All of this equals 0. So I will have what? Negative 4z squared. And now 2z minus 8z is negative 6z. And now negative 22 plus 32 is plus 10. Now to solve this equation, I'll do something. I will divide by negative 2. Okay, so I will have z squared. Negative 6 over negative 2 is plus 3. 10 over negative 2 is negative 5. Well, I cannot find two numbers. Their product is negative 5. and their sum is 3. So I have to use the quadratic formula. A is 1, B is 3, C is -5. So the solutions would be Z equals 2 because the variable here is Z. Negative B, so -3 plus or minus square root of B square minus 4 times A, which is 1, so no need to write it, times C, which is -5, over 2 times 1, which is 2. So I have -3 plus or minus. What is this? 9 plus 20, 29. 29 over 2. So these are the answers. If you try to square root of 29, it's not simplified. So these are the two answers. Of course, no one of them will make the denominator 0. So these are the answers of this equation. I stop here. Thank you very much. This is the end of the lecture. I hope you enjoyed solving some quadratic equations with me.